morning, everyone. Wow. Hey, I have a question for you guys. How many here actually arrived here today?
All of us.
Wow, that put all of us in here. At least most all of us. Some of us only arrived halfway, you know. I know, but that's a good question. Kind of funny, but we arrived. So what does that mean? We arrived. We showed up. So what are we showing up for today? Are we open? Are we receptive? We're looking to find out what's in our and what we can grow into? Because today is about what? Growing deep and standing tall. What does that mean? An idea? Well, we all have an idea. What growing deep is all about. I'm going to share a couple of thoughts about that. Growing deep. Because so often we think we go deep inside of ourselves. Am I the only one that's ever went that journey? Go deep inside of ourselves looking for something? Yeah, I think we all have at one time or another. But for myself, I know I used to journey just into the deep, dark stuff of myself and stay there. You know, sometimes you've heard it like our shadow self or our dark ideas about ourselves. But I'm here to share a couple of things on how that does grow. And the reason for that is because sometimes we need the stuff inside of us that our soul is talking about to stir us up. I know myself when I had these times where, but then if I stay with it long enough, I get something out of it. I get to grow and evolve into something more. One of the things I thought about years ago was shortly after a big earthquake. What happens? It's a cool thing that the earthquake happened because of that turbulence that came on. Everybody started to help each other. The neighbors came together. People started to reach out and say, how can I help you? That other part of our soul started to come out because we went right into the depths of it. The depths of it was very pleasant. But there's something about that turbulent part of ourself that brings up something from our soul that enriches our life if we go for it. There's an old story about trees. They did an experiment a while back in a biodome with trees. Well, other things growing in the biodome, but the trees were the object of a problem they had. They had these trees growing in this biodome, which is protected weather environment and everything else. And the trees were growing, and as they got taller, they had problems with their roots. They would be pulling out of the ground, and the tree would fall over. And they couldn't figure out why for the longest time. And then finally, one day, they came across the solution. It's the wind. The wind blowing against the tree gave it enough to have the roots grow deeper. Gave enough friction in their life or enough substance that pushes them to move more nutrients down and to grow deeper. And that solved the whole problem. So sometimes we need these little things that show up in life. These things that God has given us, this grace that has been given to us to grow in a different way. We all want to show up differently sometimes. I can just do this in my life, or I can be this way. And then the universe moves whatever it needs to do to move around and bring it to us, and what happens? Oh, wait. I'm not ready. This can't be the way. This can't be it. My question to us all about that is, what if it is the way? What if that is the moment in time? What if it is the place we're supposed to be? Think about that for a moment. And if that is the case, I'm going to share something with you that was a real revelation for me. It's very simple, but it was powerful for me. I'm going to share that with you. One of the things that I began to notice for myself is these lower energies that we talk about, lower energies like fear and depression and all these other things that we all have experienced at one time or another. I think we've all done that, right? But if we notice, those are all dictated by many things. They all have certain rules about them that these have to happen for you to be depressed, or these things have to be this way. And we have different rules and regulations for ourselves regarding all of these factors. And they're wonderful things. We can learn from them a lot. But I also began to know these higher resonances that we get into. Things like love, peace, harmony, grace. All these other things that we really aspire to don't have the same rules. They don't have all these reasoning behind them. In fact, sometimes we say, well, you just have to do it. You just have to step into it. You have to have that faith. Faith, oh my gosh, what a resonance that has. And there's no particular rule how you have to get to that faith. You just do it. But here's the difference. Because they have no rules, They're not regulations. They're not ways of doing things. I would say they're keys. There are doorways with keys. And all you have to do to get into it is put the key in the lock, and the door opens by itself, and all you have to do at that moment is step through. Think about that for a moment. All these higher things we aspire to don't require the same methods and rules and dealings with. They require us to use the key to the door that we just have to walk through. And the reason why I bring this up, because this is one of the ways in which we can learn to grow deeply. See, deeply is not always a pleasant thing to have, but it's worth every moment. Because then we get to have all the expressions we aspire to. Because if we can go to those inspirations, or in some cases, those things that move us that are unpleasant, like fear. I've been working on a lot of that for me the last several months. Just facing any fear that I had within me and looking at it straight in the face. And saying, what is this really for? How is this serving me? And how can I step up and put the key in the lock? And it makes a difference. Fear, all these different things are here to serve us, but they only really serve us if we allow them to. For the longest time, I was just looking at my fears and these different things. And it doesn't have to mean everybody else is afraid of the same thing. We know what our personal little fears are. If we can step into them without all the judgments we usually put on, and these masks and costumes we put on around it, just for a moment, and look at it and say, how is this here to serve me? How is it here to serve me? And it all serves us. Sometimes just give us a new way of looking at something. So how can we look at this now? Even when we hear sounds around us that distract us for a moment, can we come back to whatever it is? Because that's serving us to pay more attention. Because sometimes we don't want to face our fears. My gosh, I didn't want to face mine. But then again, my soul had a different idea. It said it was time to step up. Stand tall. But we stand tall because we start feeling that resonance that we've been aligning ourselves with. Having enough faith to show up to be our spiritual being that we have chosen to be. When we start to open those doors with the keys and walk through them, we start finding not just our stature is standing tall, but we feel like we're standing tall in our spirit. When we find our resonance of life starts to increase, and we find that everything that we do begins to make a difference. And then the magic starts. Yes, I'm going to say magic. Because the magic starts, and what that is, you start to notice how things all start to fit together. How the synchronicities of life just kind of flow into place that we never would have noticed until we stepped into that higher resonance, where we have that faith and that trust. Oh my gosh, the deep trust we can have in ourselves and our universe. Imagine that. Trusting yourself enough that you have the power to step up and stand tall when you want to. And trusting your universe enough that it's going to support everything you do, no matter what it looks like, right in front of you. Wow. What magical power is that? But the magic is really about what comes, the gifts you get because of that. Has anybody ever received a gift that was unexpected that you really, really enjoyed? Yeah. And it felt that like, wow, it just lit you up inside, didn't it? That's what I'm talking about. If we follow our path to that higher resonance of self that lets us stand tall in our spirit, to trust it enough to go there, that's okay. I've quit moving. Well, sort of. But see, that's perfect. We can let distractions come in, but we can still live with life. That's what I'm talking about, because we use distractions sometimes to prevent us from going where we want to go. And by all means, they show up, don't we? We have lots of distractions taking us away from where we wanted to go. But the truth of it is, they wouldn't show up unless we were hesitating about going there in the first place. This grace around us, this universe, has so much perfection in it, nothing happens by accident. There's a reason for everything, and everything is specifically on purpose. Sometimes it's not so pleasant because we're not really in alignment yet. But I tell you what, the gifts and the grace that start showing up when you begin to, oh my gosh, it's exciting. But it does take that stepping through the door. But see, that's when we begin to stand tall. Anybody ever did something maybe in school or some other thing that you're really proud of accomplishing? Didn't you feel taller and more alive and more exciting? That's what I'm talking about, that it happens. Not just physically, because it will affect you physically, but it affects you in your core all the way through. You begin to live your life in a coherence with your heart, your life, and everything in it begins to line up. Does that mean we're never going to falter from that? No. But we understand what the faltering is about. It's another opportunity to step up, look at it, and grow from it. Grow really, really deep and stand really, really tall. Because it's so easy for us to put ourselves down throughout the day. Or we kind of cover it up in little things like, well, we put ourselves down over here just a little bit because maybe I'm thinking too big. I'm just suggesting, think big, trust your heart, let it grow, and live with it completely. It's a journey that most of us have never taken. But I tell you what, it's one that's worthwhile. It's probably going to be the most meaningful journey you can ever take. To go deeply enough in your heart and your soul. To grow deep enough that the roots really become profoundly hold you strong. So you can grow as tall as you could ever imagine to be. Imagine if you could stand really, really tall in your spirit right now. Really, really tall. And feel the roots just go down so deep that nothing would make you waver. That you have enough faith in yourself, in your being, enough trust in what you can do and what the universe will do, that you no longer question that. And use questions to bring up such as, what do I want to aspire to today? Instead of thinking about the legacy you want to leave behind before you leave the planet, what legacy do you want to leave behind today for you and all that you touch? We have a choice. And the choice is freedom to choose. Or freedom to hide. Because standing tall is about freedom. That you can stand tall in your nature and let that presence of God, that presence of the universe, whatever you might want to call it, your soul, expressing itself authentically. To let it stand with you, for you, around you, all of you, as you reach out into your world and touch life. Not just for others, but for yourself. That's what standing tall is about. It's about digging deep enough into your root system that you allow yourself to grow optimally in whatever you choose to do. Because I know before this, so many of us have done what I've done. We're reaching out into the branches to look for the things to help us get stronger. The branches of our trees of life. We're looking out here and saying, what is this? Where is it? Where can I find it? When the real growth is deep in our root system. That part that we have to touch our heart and our core. The ones that every once in a while somebody comes into our life and touches us in such a way that makes a difference. So we decide to go a little deeper for ourselves. The beginning stages sometimes can be a little scary. Just like going to school for the first time. You don't know what you're supposed to learn, but you're going to go. But the more you start to get it, the more is revealed in the ways of gifts, of passion, of life, of expression, of joy and peace. Think about this for a moment. If you were really, really deeply in love, isn't there a lot of passion there? Just imagine if you were really deeply, deeply, deeply alive in your soul. Just imagine what that would grow. How tall do you want to get? I know for a long time in my life, I tried to make myself small. Really small. Because I didn't believe I was good enough for anything. And I know I'm not the only one that's ever had that experience. But just imagine now, if we can have the experience of being small, It's not that much of a leap to have the experience of being tall or wide, expansive. But we have to contemplate it first and be willing to trust the universe as it shows up, because it's gifting us with everything we need in every moment if we just pay attention and have a willingness and an intention to let the heart be our guide a little more than just the head. What do I mean by that? I'm just going to talk about that briefly. Because so often we let our mind only, our thinking, guide our way. And then we get someplace we go, we're not really fulfilled. I mean, we're doing some wonderful things, good for people in life and this and for ourselves. We're not so fulfilled. I'm just suggesting if we let our heart guide us more, let it be the focal point, and then let the mind and the thinking fill in all the other places of things so it shows up. The universe is a profound place if we start working within ourselves and realize that we have the gift within us at all moments. We just have to wake up, pay attention, decide to nurture ourselves in a way that we can allow our roots to grow really, really deep and strong. And then allow the rest of us to grow and stand tall. Imagine being as tall as a redwood tree. They're really, really tall, aren't they? Imagine if we can do that with our spirit. Stand tall enough within our soul, our spirit, that we're as tall as a redwood tree, but yet have even more expansive feeling in our spirit that touches everywhere in the world. Because everything affects everything else. And we really do affect not only ourselves, but everyone else. And the deeper we are within ourselves, the taller we stand, and the more expansive our spirit, the more everything is moved. Everything is moved. Imagine that for yourself. Standing tall, feeling strong, feeling your passions growing. Instead of stopping, you keep going. You go through the door, and go through the door, and go through the next one. And you get taller and taller and stronger. So take that with you and enjoy your day. And think about that, what you can do for your life. So enjoy it all. Thank you so much.